Okay, so I've done the calculations and I've determined that I can probably make it from Changshu, China to Suzhou, China on my e-bike. That's an electric bike. I can go there and back without having to recharge if I put it into medium speed mode. Now, on an e-bike, there are three modes: low speed, medium speed, high speed. The lower speed that you put it on, the longer your range. So this should give me just enough range to get there and back. Um, so I'm leaving my apartment garage now. And along the way, I'm going to talk about cultural differences I've noticed living here in China. Some of them good, some of them bad. So the good differences I will give a big thumbs up to, and the bad ones I'll give a thumbs down to. So this is, I might do this again in the future, talk about different ones, but these are just some quick ones. I wanted to make a quick video. I'll go ahead and put this video into high-speed motion because it's about an hour-long e-bike ride, and I just want to make a short, quick video to talk about these things. So here we go. Let me briefly explain what an e-bike is in China. It's probably not what you think it is. An e-bike in China is more like what you think of as a traditional Vespa type scooter. Usually, like in Italy, they're pretty popular, little gas powered scooters. But in China, they're electric powered and they are everywhere. I personally love having one. Just plug it in, charge it overnight, and you've got, I can pretty much go anywhere I want in the city the next day. Yeah, and these e-bikes, they are all over China. You usually have a nice path to ride them on. You don't have to ride them in traffic usually. Sometimes you do. There are points in this video where I'm riding, on the highway, which is going to seem strange to somebody in a Western country, but it's actually quite normal here. The cars are aware of the e-bikes on the side of the road, so even though it seems really dangerous, it's not as dangerous as it looks. And in the city, of course, you're surrounded by other e-bike riders. It's kind of like being in a Len video every day, or I guess I should say the Len video every day. Okay, let's get to the cultural differences. The first one I want to talk about is eating dinner. In the West, when we go to a restaurant, we order our food, and that's your whatever you order is your food. You don't share it with everybody unless you're close friends or family. Um, so you're stuck with whatever you ordered. The other people at the table might have great looking food, but you're going to eat what's on your plate. In China, it's more like banquet style. There's what we call a lazy Susan in the middle of the table, and all the main dishes are on that. And pretty much you get to eat everything. So for me, this cultural difference, this is a big thumbs up for China. I prefer this over Western style dining. But speaking of dinner, one thing that will not only be a cultural difference for you in the West, but also a cultural shock is when you go to a restaurant and you order your meals, you order your appetizer, your entree, which is your main dish, and your dessert. You might be surprised to find out that they will bring you your ice cream first, maybe like your steak second, and then finally they will bring you your salad. In China, they tend to bring out the food in the order that it's been prepared. So if the ice cream is the easiest thing to prepare, they bring it out first. So I always wait until I'm halfway through my meal to order a dessert because I don't want to eat it in the beginning. It's just a cultural difference. When I was a kid, I would have loved this cultural difference to eat ice cream at the start of my meal. And it would have seemed totally normal to me, but just because of the conditioning of how we eat the food in the West, it seems strange to me now. Of course, it's not strange to people in China. This is, normal for them, and why shouldn't it be? It's just a cultural difference. But because of my Western conditioning over the years, this difference gets a thumbs down. I'm realizing a lot of the things on my list here have to do with food and dining. So the next one is going Dutch, splitting the bill, which is what we do in the West. In China, they don't do that. In China, one person will treat you. It's called like qingni, to treat you. And then you treat them the next time. So for me at first, when I first came here, this was annoying because I felt like, oh, I have to constantly keep track of, whose turn it is, and then I got to make sure I make it up to the person that treated me, and is the bill going to be about the same? Uh, After a few years living in China, it's not a concern. I actually prefer this way. In the West, sometimes when we get the bill, there's it can be a point of contention. Did this person put in enough? And then you have to divvy it up, divide it 10 different ways sometimes. And it's just, it's really a pain in the butt. So this cultural difference of treating each other to meals, this gets a thumbs up from me. Okay, let me throw in a strange one here, door knocking. Back in the West, or at least in America, this is generally how people knock on the door. And then they will wait until you answer, unless it takes a really, really long time. But in China, this is how we knock on the door. And so the person will keep knocking like that until you answer the door, which is very annoying. This gets a big thumbs down for me. I find this very annoying because I can't instantly get to the door. I mean, yes, I hear you. You don't have to keep knocking, but I give me at least 30 seconds. Public transportation. In China, I don't need to own a car. I can get around just fine on my bike and my e-bike and the buses and the taxis and the high-speed trains, and most bigger cities have a pretty good subway system. So owning a car in China is optional, and not only do I not miss owning a car, I love not owning a car. Cars have so many extra fees associated with them. Your registration, your parking, your gas, your oil changes, your maintenance, not to mention your monthly payment, insurance. I don't have any of that, and I don't miss it. I can get anywhere I want in China quite easily. And the public transportation system is quite different. It's riding the bus here it's common. There's nothing uncomfortable or unusual about it. Whereas like back in America, you're riding the bus if you've lost your driver's license, or if you don't have two pennies to scrape together. So this cultural difference, big thumbs up. Sticking with the transportation theme, for the longest time, the next difference was probably the thing that annoyed me the most about living in China. It was the number one cultural difference that I disliked, and that was all of the horn honking and the noise pollution that comes from all of the horn honking. I've traveled many places all over Southeast Asia, and this is the only country that I've been in where people preemptively honk their horn, use their horn as a way to communicate instead of as an emergency device. So this really drove me nuts for a long time. I've kind of gotten used to it now, but it is still very annoying if you're on a bus with a driver that is just constantly honking their horn. So that will be one thing you'll notice when you come here is people sometimes just seem to honk their horns for no reason. And I'm hoping that the government puts in some kind of regulations or something to reduce the horn honking in China, because it is a lot of noise pollution, and this is the biggest thumbs down for me. When I first came to China, I noticed that there were noodle shops everywhere, and I would try to go to them for lunch or dinner, and I noticed that they would be closed. And I quickly learned that in China, noodles are for breakfast. So this was something that was very strange to me. Used to eating bacon and eggs or cereal or oatmeal, things like that for breakfast all my life. I found it strange to eat noodles, a food that I associated with lunch or dinner, to be eating it in the morning. But of course, I eventually started trying these noodle shops, and it became part of my routine to eat noodles for breakfast. And actually, I now prefer eating a good bowl of noodles in the morning over bacon and eggs. So this one gets a thumbs up. Air conditioning and heating. Oh, do I miss a good central air conditioning system where you have the big unit outside and there is a vent system that circulates the air and keeps it at a constant temperature throughout the building, throughout the hallways and everything. In China, we usually have these little boxes on a wall that are really weak and just really do a poor job of cooling and heating. And not only that, but a lot of Chinese people don't even like to use them. So oftentimes, like in a Chinese classroom, the teachers don't want to use the heating and the air conditioning. I think because they think it's unhealthy, and so be the middle of winter and the heat won't be on, and all the students will be huddled in their jackets. So yeah, I really miss central heating and air. The little air conditioning boxes in China get a big thumbs down from me. Bakeries and sweet foods. When I first came to China, I thought, oh my goodness, the cakes and the cookies and everything, they're not very sweet. They taste a little bland. The more that I've eaten these, the more I appreciate the milder sweetness to Chinese baked goods. And a lot of times they mix a lot of fruit and cream together, which is something I like. I like that combination, fruit and cream. So for me, I've actually learned to prefer Chinese bakeries, and Chinese bakeries are everywhere. I find I like the milder taste, that it's not as the sugar is not as in your face. Now Western cake and cookies and things taste too sweet to me. So this is a cultural difference I prefer. Although I will say, in many of the bakeries in China, you will find some strange foods like shredded pork meat on top of a bun. You will find lots of things like that in Chinese bakeries. But overall, this cultural difference gets a big thumbs up. And the last one I'll talk about is hot water and hot drinks, warm drinks in general. There's nothing worse than coming out of the heat on a hot summer's day and walking to a restaurant that may or may not be using their air conditioner, and they serve you a glass of hot water. In China, people believe hot water is very healthy. Anytime you have an illness, they will recommend that you drink more hot water. And It's just not refreshing at all to me. I prefer cold drinks, a cold soda, or even just a cold bottle of water on a hot day is so refreshing. So I really dislike the hot drinks and the lack of iced drinks in China. So yeah, that's an easy thumbs down for me. Well, thanks for watching. I'm about to arrive at the northernmost subway station for Suzhou, and that's what I recommend for any of the other Changshu people watching this. Is that you plan your route to arrive at the northern terminus of Line 2 in Suzhou, and then just take the subway into the city itself. Thanks for watching. Bye.